Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our series of dialogues we are hosting on the photographers featured in Caddy's digital exhibition On Protest and Mourning. I'm Aneiza Ali, the curator of this project, and I'm really excited to welcome into our conversation our featured artist, Dee Dwyer. Welcome, Dee.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Dee is a photographer from Southeast DC. Her work has been exhibited widely and featured in publications such as Vogue, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and more. And Dee also works as a photojournalist at the D.C-based, where she focuses on communities of color. And I'll share a little bit more about you and brag about you in a minute, but I wanted to bring you into the conversation. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're also really, really lucky to have joining us in conversation, Miss Keyonna Jones. Welcome, Keyonna. Welcome in.
Hey.
Keyonna is also a DC-based artist and educator and one of the leading artists behind the street-wide painting of Black Lives Matter that was installed blocks from the White House just last summer. And as you all know, that became such a global symbol of art and activism, and we're going to talk about that later with Dee and Keyonna. Keyonna is also the founder of the Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center with a mission to support her East of the River community through art and culture. Keyonna, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
With your
Thank
friends.
It's an honor to be here with my sister.
Thank you.
So Dee and Keyonna, as you know, today the world is reckoning with the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd's violent death at the hands of police. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions we ask throughout On Protest and Mourning is, how do we both record our outrage against Black death as well as affirm Black life? Mm-hmm. And how can we mark the Black lives that we've loved and lost? And so today, of course, we want to honor a man, but we want to honor this man beyond the circumstances of his death. Yes. And we also want to remember him and reclaim him as a son, as a father, as a brother, as a friend. Mm-hmm. And so the world may know George's name, but we also want to recognize the names of those we will never know. And so we equally honor them and we mark their memories. And I know today is very special and weighing heavily on both of your hearts as well.
Yeah. Today is definitely one of those days. But we're going to get through this. That's the beauty part of it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Dee. My bad.
No, go ahead. You're done. I mean, I'm done. You're.
No, I was going to say, unfortunately, before George Floyd, this is not something that we, as in Black people, aren't accustomed to. This is something that we have been dealing with for a long time. But I think because of how visible and how in front of our face George Floyd's death was, it was just something that could not just be sat with. And so I think that unfortunately there's so many deaths that we have to use as our voice and our clear example of what we've been saying that we've been going through for years. Mm-hmm. But I hope there's some resolve that he's legendary now and that he's created movements for over a year and continue to create based on what he suffered. And so, like I said, it's a bittersweet, which we all feel, but that's Black people history as well, right? There's a bittersweet and we're very resilient people and we figure out how to keep moving from these moments. So, yeah.
Thank you, Keyonna.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Dee, I reached out to you and I really wanted your presence, your voice, your vision on Protest and Mourning because DC, particularly Southeast, is very close to my heart, to your heart, Keyonna's part, when my family first migrated from Guyana to the United States, we came to the D.C., Maryland area, and I have a very special place in my heart for the warmth and the love I always felt in Southeast, because it's one of the communities that was literally my introduction to America, was
Oh, wow.
this community. So I care for it.
Lucky you.
Yes.
Lucky.
Lucky.
And Dee, I have been, and so many people have been really moved by your sustained commitment to counter what you say is such a misrepresentation of the Southeast community. And you're attempting to always counter that misrepresentation with more, in your words, genuine documentation.
Mm-hmm.
So through Dee's series that we feature in the exhibition called Justice for Deon Kay, she portrays the Southeast neighborhood trying to make sense of the killing of 18-year-old Deon by a police officer on September 2nd, 2020. And in these images, we see children bear witness with equal parts rage and resolve, as one of their own is laid to rest. And we see a community through these lens trying to really heal and find justice. And so tonight we will hear from both Dee and Keyonna. They're both artists and activists living and working and supporting Southeast, as they talk about this community's search for healing and justice, their roles as artists and activists, and their experiences as both mothers, raising children that are witnessing this every day.
Yeah.
For our audience watching, just so you know, our house rules, please do share your thoughts and your comments for Dee and Keyonna in the chat or in the comment section. We will be taking them up in the Q&A portion of our conversation coming up around the 7 p.m. hour. But for now, I am really, really happy to give the screen over to Dee and Keyonna and to share with us their work and their story and their activism and their friendship. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Grace. That was a beautiful introduction. Thank
you. This is special. Hey. So I got my notes here. We're gonna try to keep it cute because we could be all over the place. But first I want to thank Caddy for being able to give us this platform. Both Dee and I, for like the last year or so, have been doing panels and online interviews and all that type of stuff. But I don't think either one of us has done something like this where they've just given us the whole. Hey, I love it. Okay. This is how we support Black artists, first of all. Let me say that. Give us a platform. All right, so first, we're going to start with how we met.
Yes.
And I think we have a cute little picture to show from your birthday party. Shout out to Shelby that took that. I think she's on the live too. She's
on the live. Shelby is my mentee, and Shelby is definitely up next. But yeah, she's a classic picture of us. So shout out to Shelby.
Yeah. This picture, I do like this picture because he was like, I have a picture of us together. Shelby took it. It's really cute. And I was like, are you sure? But I like this because it really shows who we are. Like that's our relationship. So how we meet, I was following Dee on Instagram and I just thought she was super cool. Like she was showing her photography then, but not as heavy. I think that was probably around the time that you had just came back from Cuba and you were like getting more into showing your work. Yeah. I was following you on Instagram for a long time and I saw the babies. And at the time I was married and you were married. And I just saw so much reflection, not even knowing at that point that you were from Southeast. Yeah. We saw each other at H3 Festival and I came up to you and was like, girl, I follow you on Instagram and I think you are so dope. And then we've been connected since then.
We have. Everything was authentic, so real. It's crazy because we both were married and now we're both not married. But we we're both following our dreams, you know, walking into our purpose. And it's just crazy how everything just happens organically.
Yeah, and there's so much alignment in it. And I think one of the biggest things that or has kept us tied is our consistency and our vigor to heal. Heal first. Once we healed, things start popping out the woodworks for both of us. And I have to tell you, and I think you know this already, that you were a big part of my healing space. Like,
you did tell me.
Most authentic self and everything that you went through, and you helped me. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. You helped me. I helped you.
Reflections.
You know, just by, you know, giving me my first major space to exhibit my work and to
we're going to talk about that. We got pictures of that too.
Yes, we're definitely going to get into that.
Yeah, stay focused. So, growing up in Southeast, we both are from Southeast. So, tell me a little bit about your experience in Southeast, because I know ours was completely different, but we landed in the same spot, in the same space, doing the same work. So, share you growing up in Southeast, and I think we have a picture of Dee in front of her childhood house. There.
Yes. So this is my childhood home. This is actually 16th and W Street. They call it Chopper City. And it is in a Frederick Douglass like neighborhood. So Frederick Douglass home is literally like a block away from where I grew up at. My childhood growing up in Southeast DC.
And be real how we be real.
Oh, I'm going to be real. You already know that. All day, every day. Growing up in Southeast DC, my childhood, it definitely was bittersweet. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in a low income area. You know what I mean? A lot of high crime. It still has crime, hence the nickname Chopper City. I grew up just in a drug infested area. You know, like that was my childhood. Like I really didn't have the freedom of like a suburban kid where I can go outside and just worry about, you know, a shooting not coming through, you know. But at the same time, I grew up in the real chocolate city, you know, like where it was predominantly Black. I don't even want to say predominantly. In my neighborhood, it was all Black. We didn't have white people. I wasn't introduced to white people until I got into actually probably high school or no, middle school, something like that. I grew up around a lot of Black culture. You know, my block was the lit block, as they say. It was a lot of action going on. And I just grew up observing all of that action. And I really feel like that was the beginning of my curiosity to want to like document my community. Because I would literally just people watch, just sit on my porch and just watch the hustlers across the street, the prostitutes on the corner, you know what I mean? Like the crap games going, like that was my view. And those people were respected. They were loved. You know what I mean? So I grew up, you know, just having a love and respect for those people because they were my neighbors. You know what I mean? Although they were selling drugs or doing whatever that they were doing, like I knew the root of them. Yeah. So I was able to see, you know, their real beauty and appreciate who they were. And I feel like that has a lot to do with how I document, how I approach documenting the world.
So Dee and I grew up completely different. I did grow up in Southeast, but I grew up in an area called Hillcrest, which then and now is a very like little pristine little cut in the Southeast, very quiet. There are a few picket fences. People be walking their dogs and birds chirp and there's nobody on the corners. It's nothing like that. Never has been since I've been growing up there. But the reality is, in just like many neighborhoods, as soon as you turn the corner, it's a whole different situation, right? And my parents are not from here. My dad is from Mississippi and my mother is from South Carolina, and both of them came here to, you know, do better, come into the city and all that jazz. They had little me, and I don't think they thought they were going to, but that's a whole nother story. They did their absolute best to try to protect me from the environment that they knew Southeast to be. And so my brother went to Ballou High School, and he saw a lot more than I know that I saw growing up. So I left Southeast almost every chance that I could get. My mother was taking me out of Southeast besides me laying my head there. So I went to school in Georgetown. High school, I went to St. John's. Even before all of that, I went to Georgetown Montessori. You know what I'm saying? But what I did recognize, right, was being in Southeast and riding through my community, and then taking the bus to, I guess that's west of the river, if we're east of the river, going uptown, and then seeing all these amenities and all these things that they have, and just not understanding why it was so different. Even riding the bus, I would get made fun of because I would come from Southeast with this like uniform. It's like, why you talk different? You're going all the way uptown and I'm not getting off the bus where everybody getting off the bus at. But then I'm also getting made fun of because people had this stereotype of what Southeast is, right? And so it's like people can't come and do sleepovers at my house, and I'm just not having this understanding. I'm just like, why? Like, I don't get it. And so when I guess when I started getting into high school, you know, curiosity kills the cat, and I just had to see what Southside was about for real.
Yeah.
Had my sister Brenda moved to the neighborhood, and her family was from like Southside. And so at that point, that's when I learned about Southside, and like you said, what the real beauty of Southside is, you know, the misunderstanding of what people feel from us just because they don't know us.
Right.
And I always tell people that Southside, if you go anywhere in the world, Southside gives the same energy everywhere. It's different. We're unique. We're special. And so, yeah, I think it's very interesting that we had completely different, you know, the way we grew up in Southeast, but we still have the same appreciation for its beauty. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So the culture. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we like, kind of, that was a good segue actually. But we're going to talk about the culture of Southside and how people feel about Southside. And sorry, y'all, I say Southside, it is Southeast, but you know, Southside is what we call it at home. So
it's Southside.
Yeah, give us a little insight of what, you know, the ins and outs, the truths of what people think about Southside, how they treat us, our lack of resources. Tell people that don't know about Southeast DC, give them like an overview of what you feel.
I feel like, you know, especially growing up, I mean, now I feel like Southside is definitely gaining a newfound respect in the city. But definitely growing up, we were definitely treated like the scum on the bottom of people's shoes, to be honest. Like we were left out of everything. I mean, to the point we still are. I feel like we still receive like leftover resources and all types of things over there. The media, you know what I mean, does not cover our stories the right way.
And it's so funny that you say that. You know, I was a radio producer for about 4 years with WW, and I wanted to cover stories, and this happened to me. And it's no shade, you know, it is shade actually, to people that worked above me. But I remember being told many of times that stories that I wanted to report on weren't news because this happens every day in Southeast, right? But yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Love, hate, and struggle.
You know my train of thought. Okay. But yeah, no, like I feel like we're not, definitely they don't humanize us enough because of the high crime, but then it's also like high joy, you know what I mean? So yeah, the culture is real, it's authentic. You're gonna get some realness, you're gonna get some rawness, you know what I mean?
So what does rawness mean?
Rawness means, you know, it's nothing fake about Southside. Like when you come over there, we don't care about status, we don't care who you are, what you do. You know, you pull up and it's like, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Like you're just going to get our authentic selves, and that's just what it is. We don't care about that. We don't see all of that. But it's also a beautiful place. Like I really feel the most comfortable when I'm in Southeast. I feel the most happiest. Like even if it is something tragic that's happening, I feel like nobody loves like how we love, you know what I mean? Nobody supports like how we support each other. But yeah, we have a lot of creators too over on the South Side.
Southside creative, period.
Southside creative. But yeah, I feel like that's the culture over there. It's that authentic, old school, throwback DC chocolate city flavor over there. Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that comes from the fact that we just had ourselves to rely on, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't go. It's like literally there's a bridge for people that don't know how, our city works. There's a bridge that literally separates us from the rest of the city.
It is.
To the river, and that is Southside. And so it is literally like it can be night and day. Southeast is developing now where we finally have like some restaurants and some little pop-ups and things like that. But for the most part, before the last couple of years, it was just liquor stores and carryouts. Like that is literally all we had. The closest thing that you could get to that is still Southeast, let y'all know, it is still across the other side of the bridge, but Capitol Hill, right?
Yeah.
Where the Democrats and the Republicans, our whole Congress, everything is up there, and people fail to realize that is still Southeast, right? Yeah. And there's other parts down the street that still, get that struggle side that we receive. But yeah, I think half of that, our resilience and our specialness and our rawness, and the fact that we're so old school and family and community driven is because we've only had us to rely on.
Yeah. And we have the best views. Yeah,
the best views.
We were on your lovely rooftop at the Art Center.
Yes,
great views.
Yeah, and people. That's the only time I think when we really got showed love before. Now with this, the gentrification and development and everybody coming back over here now. But it was July 4th because we had the best views to see the fireworks and everything. Yeah. July 4th, Southside gets love before it gets dark.
So let's go into motherhood,
growing and raising children in Southeast. We got a picture of both of our kids, right?
Look at my babies.
What about your babies?
Yeah, so this is Ziggy, my oldest daughter, and my son Giannis, and that's us playing. He's the baby, so we like to play with him a lot. But that's us like tickling him during his birthday party.
And he's a firecracker, let me tell you.
He really is. He's an Aries like his mom. He looks exactly like me. I would have picked a picture that showed his face, but he's just getting into taking pictures. So I really don't have as many pictures of him.
And Ziggy is an artist.
Ziggy is an artist. She's a visual artist. She is a little activist too, like, she doesn't play. She's serious about the people, about fighting for Black liberation. And she's only 10 years old. Sweet as gold, sweet young girl, but extremely talented as well. Yeah.
And I think we got pictures of me and my babies as well. Dee actually took this.
Took that picture, girl.
Dee took this in the event we had with the Mystics, and so that's my daughter Kayla. This is actually an old picture, but it's my daughter Kayla. She's 10 now, and Keyonna is 5 now. And our kids are friends.
They are.
They're very similar. So yeah, being a mom, being an artist, the challenges, the inspirations. Talk about it a little bit.
Wow. All right, I'm gonna go deep. So, yeah, I'm just going. I mean, we're here. No, being a mom and being a creator has definitely been a tough road. And Keyonna, you already know my story. You was there, but before I became this photographer, I had to go through a lot, in order to like walk in my purpose. Long story short, a few years ago, I chose me. You know what I mean? I betted on myself. My partner at the time, my ex-husband, he was not supportive of me being this photographer that I am now, that I am also growing into, because I still have levels. But he wasn't supportive, and I knew that I had to walk in my purpose, because I literally couldn't face myself. When I was brushing my teeth or, washing my face, I couldn't look myself in the mirror because I knew that I was not walking into my purpose. So I would look at Ziggy, and I would, my daughter, we call her Ziggy. I would look at her and I would, push her to do her art. And I would tell her, you know how us parents do, we give them lessons on how to, follow their heart and all of this stuff. And I thought about it, like I wasn't doing, what I was telling her to do. So I decided 4.5 years ago, something like that. It's a blur. But I decided, I was going to walk in my purpose, and I was going to become this artist that I am becoming. It was hard. It was tough. I actually was living in Maryland because I left the South Side when I had went to college. And when I moved back, we moved to Maryland. I went through a lot of struggles with my divorce, and I had to end up actually moving back to the South Side, moving in my parents' home. Shared a 1-bedroom with my kids. Like literally, like the bedroom we were sharing had the same bed and everything. And I was depressed for a little bit, but just trying to fight through it. But it was a blessing because I got reconnected with the South Side, because I had left and I was gone for many years. And then when I came back, I was forced to relearn where I was from. It was like I was coming back to my roots. Picked up the camera and really started documenting where I was from, because, you're seeing your neighborhood, you're seeing the conditions that you grew up with through like a mature adult like lens, right? Because
it's a different perspective.
Yeah. So I started doing that, and I really started taking my craft seriously. And I started enjoying motherhood a lot more because I was walking in my purpose. Before, I'm not gonna lie, like I struggled with being a mom because I wasn't happy with myself and what I was doing. I wasn't walking in my purpose. But once I started walking in my purpose, it's crazy because I went from having, everything. We were living pretty decent to like me not having nothing and having to start over with children. I was the happiest because I was walking in my purpose, and I was able to rebuild myself and, just throw my all into my art, which I threw my all into my children. And, it's just been a lot more better. You know what I mean? I've been a lot more happier. I laugh more with my children. I explore more with them. So I would say that being a mom and being an artist is it was tough when I wasn't being real with myself. But once I started really being real with myself, things have it's been a lot better. But it is dangerous because what I do is as a photojournalist, I'm literally throwing myself in the belly of the beast at times. So it is one of those things where I'm like, wow, like I'm kind of risking things, but I know that I have to leave a legacy behind for my children. And then I also have a duty to my people. I'm obligated to my people. Like that's the role that I've given myself. Like I got to show up for everybody. So, yeah.
So a little bit more about motherhood. So I know one of my biggest things right now that I'm struggling with is honestly just feeling safe raising my kids in Southeast. I understand, there's violence everywhere, and I get it. But at the same time, Southside is just, especially over the last couple of years, like it's just become a war zone. And I've seen children die, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we don't even get an option, you know what I'm saying, sometimes here about how we're going to die. There's somebody fighting and bullets start flying, and then somebody gets hit and it's babies or it's elderly or it's all kinds of situations and scenarios out here. So how do you get through it? Like, how do you, and I know that you moved spaces, but a lot of your family is still in Southeast. Like, how do you get through just that? Like, doing that?
For me, it's definitely hard because like my kids, they have to, like, we're in Southeast like every day. You know what I mean? Like we have to go there. Like my parents, my family home is there. They help me raise my children, especially when I have to go out and work. I'm scared every single day. Like I'm praying that it's not my children, especially when I have to go out and document children actually like, getting killed. Not too far from my parents' home. So like I am a optimistic person, you know what I mean? And I do believe that we don't have control over when we will die. So I feel like just having that belief definitely helps relieve some of the stress. But I'm stressed, you know what I mean? Like I'm working hard every day to try to remove my parents out of Southeast. But then I'm also thinking we are Black. You know what I mean? Like no matter where we go, it's a target on our back.
Right.
So I'd rather be amongst our people too. You know what I mean? Because I feel the safest. I feel the safest with our people. It's just one of those things where it's bittersweet. Like I'm loving the fact that they get that authentic Black culture, but at the same time, it's a risk. And it's just one of those things where you just gotta be like, you know what? Unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And just keep living. Yeah.
So one of these questions that we wrote down, I want to make sure that we get to also in motherhood is how does being on the front line enhance some of the struggle and what you deal with? I think you touched on it a little bit just then, but I wanted you to emphasize just a little bit more.
It enhances me because.
And do you sometimes, because I know the answer, but do you bring your kids on the front line with you sometimes?
Only sometimes, but not really. Like I've been at protests where they've like, been, shooting rubber bullets and tear gas and all of that. And I see parents with their kids and I'm just like, nah, not me. Because my thing is, I'm not trying to traumatize my kids even more. I'm not like my goal. I have to protect my babies. And with these protests, like anything could happen at any given time. And I'm just not going to play with my kids' life like that. Like that's just not going to happen with me. But, to each his own. But I take them with me to document, like if I'm doing portrait work, like just recently I had an assignment with my newsroom, D.C-based, to document the activists who have been on the front lines. And the kids, I had them bring their cameras, you know what I mean? Because I was just like, look, you will be part of the history too. And they were taking their portraits with their Polaroids. Ziggy, she got on the mic and was doing her thing. Like I said, my daughter's a little activist and I support her. But like I take them to like more of the common situations, but never like a full-on protest or anything like that. That's never
the community events and whatnot.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not playing with my kids' life like that.
All right. So where are we now? I think we're gonna talk a little bit about the center. What we did, the exhibition. So I think we're gonna do this little picture real quick. It's me. I look a lot different. I was in front of the center. So yes, I am the executive director of Commerce Heights Arts and Cultural Center, which is located in the heart of Southside. We're at 3200 MLK Avenue. That's normally when you can tell that you're in Southside. It's probably MLK Avenue there. But anyway, we are first and foremost, we're an art gallery. We support local artists, Black and Brown specifically, with solo exhibitions because we know that's just a rarity. Most times places are trying to throw artists in a group show and you got to look at everybody. But I like for my artists to just be seen wholly in their own space. Outside of that, we do programs and workshops and we're a rental space for our community. So Dee and I, we can go to the next photo. Thank you. Get me off of there. So Dee and I, we talked a long time about doing a solo exhibition. She had done, so we have an event that we throw called Arnold Night and it was super lit. We haven't done it since the pandemic, but I hope now that things are opening back up, it's something that we can look forward to this year. But basically it's a big party from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. I open up the center doors. We have 3 floors plus a rooftop and we just go crazy all day. From 4 to 10, we open it up for the youth. And then from 10 to 4, we do adult only stuff. And it's a good time. But I think that's the first time that we really attacked doing this exhibition idea. And this is one of the Arnold Nights where the first one, I think you just did a small wall was the first year.
Yeah, it was a
year. We did the whole, I let you take up the whole hallway. And then I was like, yeah, now it's time for us to do the whole thing. And so talk a little bit about what that whole experience was for you. Definitely mention the name of it, why it was important for you to do that, with some of those images included.
First of all, like I said, I cannot thank you enough, sis. I really
can't. It's an honor. Yeah.
And I love it because that's how you approach me, because I wasn't showing my work really. Like I really was still, just trying to figure out like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? How am I going to do this? But you pushed me without even knowing, you know what I mean? You were like, look, you need to come be in my space. So I am forever thankful for that. Right. But I like the process, because we started off with a small wall. Then we started off, the little staircase wall. And then we went and did a full-on exhibition that, we packed house. We did. Then, had the Chocolate City experience, which we'll get into soon. But for me, it was definitely like a symbol of my growth as an artist. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to my art, I never want to rush anything. Like I hate rushing my work, and I hate rushing the process, so it was just me learning myself and easing into, this person that I'm becoming. So that was the process with me. All of the photos that I've had, for the most part, except for the first one, the first exhibit that I had was with you. I believe that was in Jamaica when I traveled there. But the other ones were predominantly like from Southeast DC. And for me, it was just, I don't know, it was me showing Southeast like what I'm up to, what I'm working on, and really to receive approval from Southeast, because I always said that before I show my work with anyone, or anyone meaning like the states or the rest of the city, or submitted in magazines, whatever, I wanted to present it to Southeast first to make sure that I'm getting this right, because like I mentioned before, I know that we're not represented, on these large platforms the right way. You know what I mean? The media does take advantage of us. And I'm saying it, and I work in the media, so I know. I have first.
And I used to work in the media too, so period.
Yeah, so I know. I mean, it doesn't, even a blind person could see like how they treat us, Absolutely. So it was really like me asking like, hey, am I doing this right? Because I always had a gut feeling that my work was going to be shown globally. Like I always had a feeling that I was going to somehow be here. And like I said, it's so many other levels that I need to go on, but I knew where I was going with this, but I needed to get Southside approval. And your space definitely like was that space that allowed me to showcase my work and get Southside's approval before I branched out and started showing the work.
And I think the exhibition was really important, because not only for, definitely your personal growth, but I felt like it was the last good real moment that like Southside could be captured in its realness, right? Because we've seen a lot of changes within Southeast, and that's why I was like, I wanted you to talk about the name of the exhibition and just really what that meant, because it was important, and it was
I'll go into that.
Yeah, it was a real important view of Southeast from a very particular perspective that we'll probably never be able to see again.
Okay. So the name of the exhibition that Keyonna is talking about is, I named it Last Bite of Chocolate City, with a question mark. And it's really like me asking, well, first I'll go into the history of Chocolate City. DC has gained the reputation of Chocolate City because it was, predominantly Black people. Black people are brown, we're chocolate, we're beautiful, all of that. But all of the DC is broken up into 4 different quadrants: Southeast, Northeast, Northwest, Southwest. So all 3 quadrants, except for Southeast, have basically been gentrified. It's been going through, gentrification heavily. Southeast was the only place left, or is the only place left for now. You know what I mean? It's going through gentrification right now, but a little bit slowly. Southeast DC, I felt like, is the last bite of the Chocolate City, right? That is going through gentrification. So I named it Last Bite of Chocolate City with a question mark, because it's me like sitting down with my people, like asking them, is this going to be the last bite? Like, are we really about to let these people come in here and just demolish Southeast? I mean, not just Southeast, but the whole DC culture. So So that's what that was about. It was me documenting. I spent like a year and a half, almost 2 years of documenting where I'm from, Southeast, and I show my work at your spot.
It was real. It was so fire, y'all. It was fire.
Beautiful.
I don't know if I even seen that many people in my building outside, like for an exhibition.
You kept saying that.
Like, I don't think I've seen that many people in there for an exhibition. And I think what was really beautiful was the artist talk. Like, it was really getting Dee to sit down and really, I mean, and that's when she was like just really coming into the blossom, like a opening flower, like right at that part where it's like opening. I feel like that now, because it was like, I remember talking about, this was like really the first time that you had talked about your divorce and like what that felt like. You dropped a couple tears on there. You was real, and you was crisscross applesauce on the floor. Like, I'm talking about, you had other people. I was crying. You know what I'm saying? Your daughter Ziggy started crying. You remember?
Yeah,
like, it was real intense. It was emotional. It was real. It was a real beautiful moment. It was dope.
And I do want to say something too. I want to add to that. I definitely couldn't have put this on without you, without my best friend Bree, and definitely Howard Cash, who is from New York.
Yes.
You know, because every time we'll have our exhibitions, it would just be like me getting my work printed from Costco. Like, you know, like I really, it's levels to this, y'all. You really have to like grow as an artist. But what Howard did was Howard put me on to the, you know, me getting our archival prints and like really taking time and pouring love into my work to have a great presentation. And he came down from New York to be by my side.
And he was not playing. Let me tell you, Howard does not play. He does not play.
He don't play. So he definitely helped me go to that next level. You know what I mean? And it's just a great example of teamwork. Nobody makes it by themselves.
And he was proud too, honey. He was definitely proud. And so also with that, we did, because we were saying, is this the last situation? You felt like you wanted to do the ultimate Black block party.
I want to talk about that too.
So I think we got pictures next coming up.
Yes, we have pictures of that. So
the Chocolate City
Experience.
Yeah.
So Chocolate City Experience actually across the street from the art center, from your art center, Keyonna. You know, I was teaching. You know this, but I'm just talking to the audience.
Yeah, go ahead, tell the people.
I was teaching art at a school called Democracy Prep, and I noticed that like my students, you know. Whenever I would say, hey, we're going to do art outside, they never wanted to go outside. So I really sat down with my students and I was like, hey, why y'all don't want to, you know, take advantage of this extra free time outside? And they broke it down and they told me, you know, they're not really used to going outside because of the gunshots, because of, you know, the shootings and you know, they have their tablets and all of that stuff. So what really pushed me to do this event was one of my 5th graders. One day I forced them to go outside and, you know, we were swinging and one of my 5th graders were like, Miss D, I don't know how to swing. And I was just like, what? You don't know how to swing? You know how to jump rope? You know how to do this? And she kept saying, no. And then the other students were just like, yeah, we don't know how to jump rope and all of that. And I thought about it. I was just like, yo, I want to, not only do I want to present my work, but I want to create an experience where, you know, I'm bringing back that old school block party, that old school love where we can go outside and do, you know, the double dutch and do hopscotch. So I just wanted to recreate a beautiful day in a Black neighborhood. So, of course, called in Keyonna because we needed the space. Thank God Keyonna has this space in Southeast. And we called in you know, vendors. We called
other local organizations to come in.
Local organizations, the creative
was lit.
It was amazing. Like, you know, we did a go-go band and, you know, we just did so many beautiful things.
Talk about all of them, D. Talk about all the beautiful things we did.
Okay, so we had
a barber on the porch.
You do it.
We had a barber on the porch. Yeah, we got a picture of that. A barber that was
haircuts. Everything was free, by the way.
Free haircuts. We had, we already saw the picture of the double dutch. And they were like trained double dutch. They came out there and did tricks and stuff. We had hula hoops. We had Selena, my girl. She's on the chat. She's in the live too. She brought the horses out. So we had horse patting.
Fish.
We had the frying the fish. We had chess. We had boxing. We had vendors that were selling their stuff.
Yep.
We had
Wall Street. We brought out.
We had face paint. We had bubbles.
We had people helping with credit scores, like
all of that. We did have resource tables for the community. We had everything that you could think of, and
we had a go-go band.
The time
is huge in DC. We just did everything. It was really just me wanting to hug my block, and everything was sponsored out of pocket by me. It was definitely something that I thought heavily on because I was still living at home with my mother, sharing a bed with my kids. But it was something that I felt like I just needed to pour into the community. I just needed to do that.
Look at you doing the go-go point in the back. That's Dee in the yellow, y'all, in the back.
And that's you on the mic.
And that's me on the mic. And that's Bree.
Hosting, as you always do.
Always working. Yeah. And that was, what was that, Black Alley?
Yeah, Black Alley Go-Go. I'm sorry, Black Alley Rock Band.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah.
And that's some of Khalik's work up there. Shout out to Khalik, the mural on the.
My students actually helped to paint that mural, guys.
Yes, they did. Right. Yeah, me and Dee, we done done a lot of stuff together, girl. We done done.
We're pouring this out there. When you think about it, like I'm glad for this platform because like when you're an artist on the go, like you just go, and you're a mom, you just go. But I don't often like sit down and really just like let the accomplishments of what we do just marinate. Like I just I do one thing and then I'm off to the next, and then that's it.
Yeah, I'm grateful for this too, to like be able to like go back and think about our story. So we did a little bit and try to like kind of prep.
Wait, we did a Chocolate City Experience pop-up at
the Black Lives Matter. Yeah,
last year.
We do got a little picture of me out there, you know what I'm saying? Chucking up the for y'all. So I don't know who told Grace that I was one of the lead artists. Kat, you can bring that picture up and then we're gonna get rid of it real fast. I don't know who told Grace I was a lead artist. I think we all had equal share in that project. I will not take that title as lead artist. There were 7 artists that were involved in painting this. We got called in the middle of the night, secret project from the mayor. I was down. But everybody decided to be anonymous for several different reasons. I was not going to be anonymous, but also I was, wearing my stuff, so it was kind of hard. People know my brand, so. But outside of that, I think it was very important. Okay, Kat, you can get rid of me. Thank you. I think it was really important. And then she's going to zoom up and try to be funny. Look the picture.
You're going to see this.
Right. I think it was important for me not to be anonymous and silent about it because it's important, especially now that we see how monumental that project became. It is important, at least for me, to know that my people know that they were a part of that. You know what I'm saying? And that Black queer women know that they can be a part of something great like that. But yes, good segue. We did do another Chocolate City Experience right down there at the plaza.
Last year in the pandemic.
It was time, but it was still ×3 of what
it was beautiful and it was needed. And I actually was with Tab when we were walking, and we were in the middle of the protest. I was on assignment for Dove. And as we were walking, it was just so much tension. And it still is tension down there. It has not stopped. Let's be clear on that. But it was just so heavy, so thick, like it was suffocating, the tension. And for me, I'm the type of person, I like to bring on good vibes. Like I can't walk into a room and, you know what I mean? It's no good vibes there. I'm going to try to shift the energy. So I told her, I was like, yo, we should do a pop-up, Chocolate City Experience here because this place needs some love.
Right.
And Tad was down. You were down, of course, always. The Creative School, shout out to them because they were always down.
Yeah, shout out to the Creative School.
And we just found the band, Black Lives Matter, the DC chapter, they were down because they were holding space. So they, were there. They collaborated with us on that, and it was just a beautiful thing. Like we've definitely brought in a lot of Black joy, brought in the ropes, brought in the chest. Everybody had on their masks.
And the vendors, yeah, we did do masks, of course.
We did the vendors. We did the live paintings. Yeah, we did. No, we did the Elements band.
Oh yeah, Elements, and they were lit. They were really
amazing.
Matter of fact, I went to school with one of the boys that was one of the drummers. That was a surprise.
Yeah. It was beautiful because it you realize the power of art as, you know, the power of artists. We brought everyone together. The police even, you know, tried to come in and, you know, be a part of it. But, you know,
we nicely told them that this was community-based, and they received that very politely and excused themselves and let us enjoy ourselves within community.
They did. They watched from afar, but they did try to join in. And it's just funny because we created something where everyone wanted to, you know,
be a part of. Absolutely.
You know, like it was opposite sides that are, you know, fighting. We came in as artists, as creators, and was just like, so we gonna bring in some vibes. And, you know, everyone put all of their feelings to the side for the most part, and just had a good time. But the police definitely had to watch.
Like Nene said, we keep us safe. We did very well with that. It was a good time.
It was great.
All right, so I want to make sure that we get in before we got to wrap up. I want us to talk about what we got going forward, like what we about to do with some projects that you can share. I know a lot of your stuff is under zip. Some things that you're working on that people may have not already known about. Anything that you want to get out and share.
I would say this. I am definitely looking to do a book, or even like I was going through my archives. I said, "Dang, I got to do a few books." So I'm looking to, you know, work on that, and then also like I'll be doing films this year. Like that's what I'm transitioning to. So my background is digital filmmaking and production. So I was just like, you know what? I have a whole filmmaking degree. I do have a passion for it. So I'm just gonna like jump out there.
Do it.
Films.
You jumped out there with the photography, and here we are. So
yeah, we are. So I have a few projects that's in the works that I definitely have to get busy on, and so that's me. That's what I got going on.
And that's in your like your little personal headspace of it all. But then like we said before, and we have done all the time. Sorry, my dog is going crazy if you hear all that noise on the steps. But Dee and I are always busy. We're always working in the community. I know one of the biggest efforts that we are both teamed into right now is the Creator School, which is an incredible effort that is really helping. It's coming out of Southeast, to be very honest. It's like evolution stages started out of the school in Southeast. So we got our hands in that. So I just want to say that, give them a shout out, because you're working with the youth with photography and passing on the skills. And so we got a lot of
documenting their journey too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So just I want to hit you with a real good question so we could wrap it up. What should it be?
Hit me.
It's going to be like a weird question.
Okay.
To me. I'll just ask you this. For your journey, how you see yourself, what you just said, all these things that you plan on doing, like the special books and, you know, all that type of stuff, the filming and all that type of stuff. Give me a color and give me, I won't shoot you down to just an adjective. You can just give me a word, a color and a word that you think describes this next step, this next journey you'll be taking for yourself. See?
A color and a word. Extra black.
Okay. Saucy.
That's it.
Extra and black. Black is your color, and extra is your word.
Extra. Anything I'm gonna do is gonna be extra.
Period. And it's gonna be okay. I'm with it. All right, y'all. Well, again, Caddy, thank you for giving us this platform. It's been amazing. There goes Grace, little pretty self. Yes, I had a good time with you, Dee. That was fun. Took me back to journalism days. That was cute. Thank you.
Well, the Southeast is the place to be. Dee, you used the word high joy, and I want to thank you on a day like today where we're marking and honoring what we're marking. Thanks for bringing the high joy, both of you, into the conversation. So I want to remind our audience watching us live, please put in the chat or the comments your questions or remarks or thoughts for Dee and Keyonna. I'll bring them to them. I'm going to ask the audience to actually go, because you can open up a tab. We're digital. Go to On Protest and Mourning Digital. And Dee, our audience wants to know, can you take us through, I know you sent me so many incredible, heartbreaking images of this story and this scene, and we were so limited on what we could choose.
Yeah.
And we settled on these 5. But if you can take us through your photographer's mind, these 5 images, and I put the link in the chat for you too if you didn't have it up. Starting with this, you know, my little baby niece is 1.5 years, and I saw her and I saw my niece, and this little girl in protest and mourning, in that gesture of standing at that makeshift altar. I don't even know if she knows what the sign is she's holding up, but she's holding it up with such determination. And I couldn't tell, but is the t-shirt she's wearing also of Deon? Is that the t-shirt she's
wearing? So I later found out that this young girl is actually Deon's niece. So she was there, you know, she was there to you know, represent for her uncle. Yep, her mother reached out to me and told me that that's his niece. So yeah. So that's why she has on the shirt, and she's just all for Deon. Yeah, and I can, if you want to like talk more about like my connection and, you know, why I am using my photography in a way as a form of activism, especially when it comes to Deon Kay, I can definitely tell you like how we're connected. But yeah,
please.
Yeah, so with Deon Kay, his 2 siblings, actually one of them is there at the bottom, Jaha, with the hood. And his sister, they both were my students for 2 years at the school, Democracy Prep. So with Deon, I would see him in the hallways all the time. He wasn't a student of mine, but he would definitely like help out. If we have any educators in the building, or if anybody understands how it works being an educator, sometimes, you know, the younger siblings can get a little, you know, little wild, and you have to go get the bigger siblings to come through and get them together. So Deon was that person. He was like a father figure to them. He was definitely like, although he was a young boy, he had to become the man of the house and take care of his family, his kids and everything. And I would like watch him with his friends and see that he was a leader, you know. But that's my connection with Deon Kay. Like I watched this young boy for about 2 years. You know, he was in the middle school. I was in the elementary school department, but we were all in the same building. So I would watch them. I would watch how excited his younger siblings would get after school, you know, waiting for him in the hallway, how they would walk proudly behind him and his friends. You know what I mean? Like I've seen all of that. So when that happened, I actually didn't know who it was because they didn't reveal the person until like later on that evening. So I'm documenting the whole, actually that's the visual, but the night that it happened, September 2nd, which I documented as well. I'm documenting, and then when a protest gets to 7th District, the police station, that's when a picture was released and I saw who it was, and I literally had to like just step to the side. I called his art teacher, who was a mentor of me, and we just broke down. We cried. Like I was on assignment for my newsroom, and I just cried. Yeah, and then we got back into it, and that's that. Yeah.
Oh, love you, Dee.
You know, for so many of us, the majority of us, we come to these stories, we come to these losses from headlines. And I don't know how often we're thinking about, you know, folks like the 2 of you, who these are folks these are young people that you're teaching, that you're seeing in the neighborhood, that you're seeing every day. And then you have to go and do the work, document it, tell the story, tell the right story, tell the story that both honors the person that we've lost, but also honors the community's loss as well. And I know when I was looking at your images, and I've been talking about the struggle with this exhibition, an exhibition that is talking about Black death,
Mhm.
and the tension and the conflict and the struggle with what image to show of someone dead and what image
Mhm.
not to show. And the image of the coffin that we show for your body of work, Dee, was an image I know you struggled with in taking. I know
Mhm.
I struggled with, do we show this, do we not? Even though it's very much an eclipsed image. It's not a
Mhm.
direct image of this young man.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you could take us through that funeral scene
Yeah.
and what it was for you to be in that moment documenting the funeral.
So with the funeral, like I would say this, um, I just, I don't know, it made me feel, of course I was hurt, but I also it made me respect my community even more. It made me respect my people even more because with that funeral, they did not let in media. They kicked media out. Media was not allowed. But the fact that they trusted me and they allowed me, you know what I mean, to be able to document that, I appreciate that, that I don't take that lightly. It was hard because last year I actually documented um, people in the community funerals. To the point where this year, like my newsroom, I had a like, don't call me for that. You know what I mean? Like it's just too much. I have to take a little break. Hopefully it's a permanent break. Hopefully this stops. But that documenting that funeral, I don't really feel like I was on assignment. Like, you know what I mean? I was there mourning too. Like I'm seeing my students crying and sad. One of his younger sisters, Keyonna, who like that was my girl. Like her and I, when we met, we bump heads because you know what I mean. Like she thought that she could get over on me, but after a while, like we just grew like a nice bond, and just looking into her eyes and me knowing her spirit, like knowing that she's trying to be tough. You know what I mean? Because I've been there. I lost a big brother before. My big brother was killed too. So I know that look of her trying to be tough, but she was just so broken. So I was there actually mourning, but I knew I had to document this moment and tell this story because in the media, they made it seem like Deon, was out just to harm people and be negative, but Deon had to be tough. He had to do these things. So I was there to mourn first, and I was there to support the family and also the educators. Like the school that we were at, it was a tight-knit school, so I was there amongst my people. I just had a camera with me. That was it. And for the funeral, my newsroom, we didn't use the images or anything like that because, and I respect them. They knew that they didn't want media there, although like I was an exception, but they were just like, we're just going to honor it and not use the images at all. But I told them, luckily I have the copyright to my images, but I told them I'm going to go on and I'm going to show these images because people need to know who Deon Kay was. He needs to be honored. So,
Keyonna, you and Dee both talked about the pressures you feel as mothers raising children in your community. And Kat, if you can go back to the last image from the exhibition of that beautiful boy, I think yes, this image was so powerful for me, and I know that we needed to have this image in the project because you do something really beautiful here.
Mm-hmm.
You let us imagine what he could be thinking, what he could be seeing, what he could be reflecting on. And if we really let ourselves sit with what this young boy is grappling with, and what's so fascinating about this image is the world is swirling around him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's all of this activity behind him that we can see. And
Mm-hmm.
he is so solid and stoic in his grief and his pain. And it is an
Mm-hmm.
incredibly powerful image.
Yeah.
And so as mothers, you know, not only are you grappling with how do you raise your children in this community, but you're also grappling with your children are witnessing things that children should not have to grapple with and reflect on, as we see in this portrait here. And so I would love for both of you to talk about your own feelings on how you yourselves as mothers grapple with, I have to accept that my children have to deal and reconcile and contemplate and meditate on Black death every day.
For me, I keep it real with my kids all the time. I don't hide anything from them because I want them to always be prepared for the real world. So I don't shelter my kids too much. For me, it's like I mentioned earlier, it's definitely one of those things where it's haunting. It haunts you. You know what I mean? And some nights it will keep you up at night. Especially for me, after I've documented a child, you know, getting killed, I don't sleep. I don't sleep that well after that. But I just love up on my kids even more. You know what I mean? You just got to appreciate them. We all have to appreciate each other while we're here. That's the only thing that we could do. We can't control when somebody's going to pull a trigger. We can't control if a stray bullet is going to come. We can't control it, unfortunately, you know, but I just love up on my kids so much and just try to cherish the little moments that we do have together until our time comes. So that's how I deal with it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty similar. I mean, I think the biggest thing is I always say that I'm as appropriately honest as I can be with my kids. But also using, which I think is an artist thing that we do anyway, is helping change the perspective, right? About using stories and using that to help change the perspective for them. So not that we're just sitting here and we're mourning Black death, but we're also taking joy in the fact that we have Black life, right?
Yeah.
And trying to find moments to really enjoy those moments and be grateful for those moments and relish in those moments. I talk to my kids a lot about gratitude and about expressing gratitude. We love on each other really hard too. And I think another thing that is major in my household is using art as a healing tool. It's that we find it a lot of times we don't have the words for how we feel, especially when, you know, I know my kids have personally, the kids that have been lost recently, my kids have personally known a few of them. Right, and share spaces with them for years at a time. So not always having and telling my kids that it's okay to not always have the words, letting them know that there's times that you're not going to feel good just because of the weight of your environment, but using art as a way for them to be able to express when they don't have the words for that. So art as a healing tool is definitely a big thing in my house. And again, having gratitude for what we do have right now.
Thank you, Keyonna.
For sure.
Dee, Shelby has a question. Shelby Swan wants to know, why do you think people, you were talking about the media being shut out, intentionally and aggressively shut out from some of these events in Southeast. And so Shelby Swan wants to know, why do you think people trust you with their stories?
I feel like it's one of those things where, what do they say? Real recognizes real. Like when I approach people, the first thing is not, hey, I work for, you know, such and such. Like I'm there to know you. I'm there to understand who you are. It's definitely a vibe that I have before I go out to document. I'm checking my energy. I'm making sure that I'm good. So that way, when I'm walking into certain situations, I want people to feel relaxed. I want them to feel calm around me. Also, I don't know. Like I said, I just keep it real. You know what I mean? I'm from the struggle. Like that's where I'm from, you know? So I know it. I understand it. I appreciate it. I hate it, love it, all of that. You know what I mean? So I get it. So I feel like I can be in any room with anyone, and people can feel my realness, my rawness, and they gravitate towards that, because we all know that's rare. I feel like I'm a rare gem, and everyone wants to be around somebody that's gonna be real. So I just be me. Like, I don't think too much about, hey, how am I going to get this story out of that person? I go in there with an attitude of, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. And that's just what it is. I'm not thinking about a deadline. I'm not thinking about my editors. I'm not thinking about no one. I don't care if I'm on an assignment for the Wall Street Journal, whoever. I don't care about that. I care about the person. I'm putting humanity first. So I feel like people feel that, they see that, and they automatically, let their guards down when they're in my presence. And my camera is just a bonus. That's it. Yeah.
This one, I think, is for both of you. Selena Brown, thank you so much for watching. Thank all of you for watching and sending in your comments and questions. Selena Brown wants to know, how do you keep your peace and spirit at a high joy?
I come from a funny family. My family my father literally could have been one of the kings of comedy. So my family is so funny. Like, no matter how much we had to struggle, like, we always saw like humor in anything. And I feel like DC too, like our culture, we're just funny people. Like, most of the good comedians come from DC now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we got a culture of Jonah.
Right. Like, that's the spirit of a DC person. So for me, I can't stay down too long. Like, even if I'm depressed, it's probably going to last for like 24 hours, if that, maybe, I don't know. But I'm always around good people. I listen to a lot of music, good music. And that's just that. Like, I don't like the feeling of being heavy or being down. So
you got a really good diet too. You got a really good diet,
drinking good water. You gotta make sure you have that water in your system and everything. But yeah, I'm around a bunch of funny people, so I can't be down too long.
Yeah, and I feel like we gotta, between D and I, we got a good tribe. So we also, it's like, we don't really allow people to have moments where we always checking up on each other. We always talking to each other. There's always involvement. So our vibes bounce off of each other, and energies, they transfer. So we bring each other up, and all that good stuff. Staying hydrated. And like I said, art is my thing. If I don't feel good, I do some art. That's just what it is. Art saves lives.
It does. Art is a movement.
Well, folks, we've come to the end of our time to get our high joy hour, or joy, our hour joy. This really meant personally a lot to me. As I shared earlier, the Southeast community is near and dear to my heart. To know that the two of you are there doing the work that you're doing, making the impact that you're making, means the world to me. So I want to applaud both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Grace. This is dope.
And thank you, Grace, for putting this together.
This was amazing. I mean, really, this was dope. This was very dope. And I'm honored to share space with my sister, for you bringing me on. You always know I'm talking about you. I'm telling Dee all the time that she's a whole celebrity and she needs to wrap her mind around that. But I'm honored to share space with you professionally and, most importantly, personally.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Dee, as always, such an honor to have your work and your words on Protest and Mourning. Thank you for your generosity in letting us feature your project, Justice for Deon Kay, On Protest and Mourning. As always, our producer behind the scene, Kat Lazo, thank you so much for healing us.
Go ahead, Kat, girl.
And our entire team and staff at Caddy for helping us make On Protest and Mourning such an impactful exhibition. We will see you watching us. We come back for our next dialogue series with the artist in the project on June 8th with Carlos Javier Ortiz and his film, We All We Got. We'll be screening it live for you in full, so please join us then. And everyone, be safe, be well, and good night.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.